All right, it's recording. Fuck, this is always really tight. Woo! Okay.
All right, you did it.
Thank God I lost that weight.
Yeah, right.
And as the intro fades out, welcome everyone back to another episode of the My Opinion Doesn't Matter podcast. I have a special guest with me here. First time guest. I'm my good buddy Ryan, and it's Hysinger, right? That's how you pronounce your last name? I hope I didn't botch that. I forgot to ask before the show started, like a good host normally would. How you doing today, man? How's it been?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's been a while since we've seen each other. Like last time I saw him, we're gonna throw a photo on the green screen, but he had hair all the way down to past his chest.
Oh yeah.
I was very jealous of his hair at the time. I was growing my hair out when I first met you, and seeing that just kept me like, all right, yeah, I'm growing. I'm growing the hair out now, and I did for a little bit, but I still never quite got it. Quite as long as yours, but now it's good to see you, man. It's been
good to see you too.
We were talking about it before. It's been almost a year since you've actually, hung out, talked with each other. We've talked over the phone or I'm over text throughout the year.
Right,
but COVID made shit a little bit difficult, and then the gym closed down.
Yeah.
And all that shit. For a little background, I met you at Grit. We've talked about Grit, the gym that I go to a few times on the show. He was someone who I definitely credit for my diet changing. I talked a little bit in the one of the episodes that I've recorded about my diet and how I went from eating pretty much whatever I wanted to being a strict, I eat the exact same thing every single day for a few weeks. This is the guy that convinced me to be that crazy.
And you stuck to it.
I did stick to it.
I respect it.
There was some hard shit you made me eat, man. Like and for some people you're gonna be like, really, that was the hardest one. One of the hardest things was that almond milk and chia seed pudding.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, like some of y'all might like that. For whatever I didn't matter how much stevia I put in that, it just didn't taste right. It was all the texture.
Yeah.
It was almost like fish eggs in in like a really thick sauce, and it was very, very odd. But I give you all the credit for being able to stomach stuff like that. But what I want to go into a little bit today is one thing that both of you have in common, besides the fact they both have very nice looking hair,
right.
is music. I didn't even know this when I first met you, but you introduced me to your Spotify page, and you've actually got some pretty decent skills as a rapper, my guy. I'm not gonna lie, and not to mention you in the producing room, your beats are also really, really excellent. But so just kind of, I'd love for you just to kind of go into a little bit about why you started to rap. What made you go, this is something that I feel like I can do on less of a singing to myself in the car type of thing. When did you feel like you wanted to make the move to actually put out your own music?
So my dad, he taught me guitar when I was like 14 years old. He taught me drums even before then. I was like 10 or 11 when he taught me drums. So music was always like a part of my life because it was a part of my dad's life.
Sure.
And it never made it past, just playing guitar, jamming together. And that was about it. My dad, he would do guitar, drums, keyboard, he'd sing. I mean, he did everything. And eventually I was like, well, maybe I should start like mixing my own stuff together. So I bought some recording software with a buddy, and we just started jamming, no vocals at all. And then it got to the point where, he kind of phased out. So I was left with all the equipment, which was pretty cool. And then I know. I was like, all right, cool. I bought him out, like Aaron, if you're listening, I hope we're still good, man. Cause I bought him out. I gave him, anyway.
Yeah.
Moving forward. So then I got to the point where I was like, I don't feel like I'm truly expressing like what I feel inside,
Okay.
Music can only say so much, and
You felt like you could do a little bit more.
Yeah, so I tried singing. I was like, man, I suck at singing. This is not good. Just don't like my voice, you know. And then
I totally understand. I totally get it.
And I was like, well, you know. So anyway, I have my own like everyone's got their demons they deal with, and I just really resonated with like minor key, like dark, heavy instrumental music, and like that type of music was always hip hop, rock, like heavy screamo, and I was like, it just resonated with me. So I was like, well, talking about all that. So then, what actually got me to like do rapping was the first song I wrote like with vocals was actually for my wife.
Okay.
And it was actually like my vows to her.
Okay, interesting.
So what I did was I'm sitting there and I downloaded Melodyne because I could not hit the right pitch and keep the note. So downloaded Melodyne to hit the chorus. So I just sang the chorus, but my vows I just spoke them, and I made sure like they rhymed and they had a nice rhythm to them. But it was the first time like I talked and then sang. And I was like, you know what? There might be something to like just this whole talking
Maybe I could do
thing.
something else. What do they call the next step in that? I don't know.
That's exactly what it was. So I took the next step and it turned into rap. And I did that. My first song that I actually did was called Rise of the Champion. And
yeah, I've heard that one.
That was on my first album, Paradigm Shift. And like I just released it because it's like, hey, like this is where I was at. You know, I wasn't really afraid of people going, oh, that's not that great. You need to improve. Like it.
You weren't doing it to impress anybody. You were doing it simply because it felt good to you.
Felt good. Actually, my buddy, he listened to the first like 10 or 11 songs that I'd made, and he's like, you need to release these. Like, I think these might resonate with people, and he's the reason that I even put it on Spotify.
Okay, very well. Shout out to him, of course.
Yeah, his name's Nick, so really close friend. And,
awesome, very nice. You mentioned earlier how you like some of the darker tones and some of the darker instrumentals, and screamo was something you mentioned. And one of your most recent songs, Geronimo, had that was the first song I had heard where there actually was some elements of screamo a little bit. I personally don't listen to a lot of screamo, and I don't necessarily understand like the difference between just screaming and screamo singing. There's I understand that there is a difference, and there's certain things that you do.
Yeah.
What exactly is that? What exactly like help a guy who really doesn't know anything about screamo understand the difference between yelling and screamo music? Like what's the biggest difference?
Musically?
Yeah, like what's to stop anybody from walking into a booth and just yelling into a microphone? What's the difference between a screamo artist and someone who can just walk into a booth and scream?
Okay, so you walk into a booth and scream, give it 2 minutes, and your throat's gonna be hurting you. Trust me, I've tried all that.
Okay.
So I actually had to look up like these techniques on how to do it. What's funny is I got to the point where I was actually doing a song, and that song was called "This Is." That's also on my first album, Paradigm Shift. That was the first time I was like, I need to put some like intense emotion in this song. And musically, I don't think I was up to par to really match that. So I was like, I need to go up and above with my, vocals somehow. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think I want to learn how to scream. So I tried, and I was like, man, this sucks. So I spent it literally took me like 3 months to learn how to do this, and I wasn't even good at it then, but it was enough where you threw enough reverb on it and chorus, and it like kind of sounded like a good scream.
This
I was like, all right,
passable.
But yeah, there's this whole technique I had to learn it just for this one song, and after that I was like, oh my goodness, I love how this sounds together. I was like, it's such an intense like emotion. I think like people know like, okay, when you whisper, it's real like there's tension or there's suspense, or you're just kind of interested when someone's talking, or I don't know, like the emotional component to screaming, like it was what I needed to express what I was feeling. So that's why I went that route.
Okay. Also going back to Geronimo, I believe it was your sister who was the accompaniment, or who was the female voice?
That's my wife.
Your wife.
Yeah.
Okay. The same last name. I wasn't even sure that if you were married, so I get what you confirmed that earlier. So okay. So does your wife make music on the side too, or did you just know that she could sing and you went just jump on with me?
So first album, there's a song called "The Game." So I was like, I needed this like innocent, pure kind of sound to a vocal.
Okay.
And I just couldn't hit it. I'm not hitting these notes, you know. And my wife, she was in choir her whole like high school time.
So she actually has a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, she's got such a good voice. It's like it's perfect. I think it balances the heaviness and intensity of what I bring, and then she just has this delicate, pure like innocence, and I love how it fits in there. So, yeah. So I asked her, I was like, hey, can you sing this? Because I think it needs this balance. It's too Ryan, you know, heavy.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
So I had her sing it with me, and I just felt like it fit perfect.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, just going a little bit off of you know, off of some of the stuff you've already done. You talked a little bit about how, you know, you got started into rap. What have you felt like from your first album to your most, you know, recently released singles? First you've only released one full album, right? Or released more than
I
that?
have the album 2 done.
You've your album 2 done, but it hasn't. Okay,
Always been done, yeah.
fair enough.
Just-
Okay. There we go, guys. If you're interested, album 2 coming out at some point.
For what it's worth, I'm on the fence of like releasing a song.
Really?
Yeah, it's
What's keeping you on the fence? Is it the
it's
content of the
it's
song?
dark, man.
Okay.
You know, so like I wrote all my songs. My first album, you know, if you kind of zoom out, you might get this feeling of, okay, he's learning how to do music. But if we look past that, I think you see this guy that's like looking for understanding, and he just has like this mindset that he just maybe wants to help offer to people or something. So the album title's Paradigm Shift. So I try to weave a similar message in every song. So if you go through the album, it actually has this like motif throughout each song, and I think that's really cool. I think a lot of artists today, like, they create a song and then they just like, okay, well, what else is catchy? And then the album is like, it has all these voices and perspectives, and it's not this unified thing. So that's how I went about it with my album. So then the second one, I was like, okay, let's take this a step further, get a little bit better with my music, my, you know, performance, yada yada. And that one has this kind of angry tone to it.
Okay.
And that's what I've noticed. It's very angry, and it's, you know, those stages of dealing with things. And I just feel like this captures that anger that I'm dealing with and needed to express. Anyway, this song, it's the deepest of the darkest.
Okay.
And it's crazy because, you know, you got to experience the good to appreciate, or you got to experience the bad to appreciate the good, right?
Yeah.
So I went into this song, it's an 8-minute song, and I took you to like the deepest, darkest valleys of like awful. And it ends on this like, let's fucking grab life by the balls and do it type of feeling. But I'm just afraid that I'm gonna release a song and friends and family are gonna be checking on me, making sure I'm doing okay. But
I felt that way when whenever I'm making, whether it be a film project that's in the horror realm, like, you know, there's one feature film that I tried to make that did not wind up working out. It had a scene in it that is pretty intense. It was the death scene of the it was kind of the creation scene of the main supernatural villain, who in present day, at that point, she had become a vengeful spirit, but in the movie it shows the scene where she died, and it's a very intense and potentially triggering type of scene. You know, and I felt the same way with that too. Like, you know, how was some of my friends gonna see, like, what are they gonna think goes on in my head when they see this?
Yeah.
So I understand how sometimes you're almost like, you want to showcase your art, you want to showcase your ideas, but sometimes you're like, am I scaring myself a little bit with this one? Like, and I think the one thing that I've learned when it comes to that is kind of like what you said when you released your first album. At the end of the day, it's yours, and at the end of the day, it's whatever anyone wants to, whatever opinions anybody has, whether it's good or bad, you know, take it with what it is. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change it to now it's theirs. You know, at the end of the day, it's still your art, it's still your creation, it's still, you know, you know, I'm not trying to force your hand to like release a song today, but I do think that there is a sense of beauty in the darkness that we face, and there is this, and like you had mentioned, the end of the song, it's kind of about, all right, well, now let's grab by the balls, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
And I think that there are so many dark situations that then turn into that type of feeling, that I think it will be really impactful. And I think people, like, if, you know, when it comes to like sugarcoating things, and I think it's that to me is less so helping people, or less so, I guess, saving their innocence, and more so shielding them from reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, I haven't listened to the song. I'm not sure exactly what the themes delve into. But if you got someone else that's out there that's also dealing with some of those same specific things, or maybe not exactly the same, but situations that are definitely similar, it can also be a way for them to go, oh, so there's someone else there who gets it.
Yeah.
Even if it's not necessarily a happy ending to the song, there's a guy that I'm sure you've heard of, one of my favorite artists. His name is NF.
I knew you were
And
gonna say
I'm assuming most people around
Yeah.
here by now, most people know who he is. I found this guy when I was a senior in high school, where nobody knew who this guy was, and good fucking god. Shout out, if he happens to listen to this, Tommy Prophet, who produces all of his music. I know the guy. He's a really cool fucking guy, and he's killer. He makes all of his fucking beats.
Oh man,
Tommy Prophet's a fucking man. He still will answer me in his comments on his Facebook page sometimes. I met him when I was in 6th grade. He was our church used to host retreats that would, like, a bunch of churches would get together in like a different area, and for winter's end retreat, it was obviously in the middle of the winter, or the end of winter in January. He was the main gospel artist. So for like the whole weekend, he did the morning, the evening service for all 3 days. And so I actually got a chance to meet him. He then came to a different event that a few years later I got to meet with him again. Super great guy, and he's the reason how I found NF in the first place. So just real quick,
so cool.
shout out Tommy Prophet, you're awesome. But NF has a song called "Why Would You Leave Us?" And I know, and if you know NF, you know the song. It's talking about his mother, and there's no happy ending to the end of that song. That song is destroying from beginning until end. We talk about losing his mother and the pain that his mother went through with drugs, and just kind of wondering why. The huge question that most people have whenever they lose someone is why. And the end of the song is him just literally sobbing into the microphone. I've seen him perform this song live, and he breaks down on stage every time he performs it. And it's something where, for me, I lost my mother a few years back. I don't know if I've told the story on the podcast. I may have to look back and figure out if I did, so don't tell it again, because it's not a very fun story. But just in short, if I did tell it, my mom dealt with a lot of demons that were very similar to what she had dealt with, and so kind of just hearing it, and even though it wasn't like, my mom passed away, but I'm okay now. No, it's still like, no, I'm still devastated. In my mind, I saw, hey, there's someone else who gets it, though. Someone else whose mother went through a very similar situation as mine, and he's feeling exactly how I'm feeling, and it gave me a little bit of a kind of a. In a way, it relieved a little bit of my anxiety, because you didn't feel like you were alone in that. So I think it's something that even if the song doesn't necessarily end in a happy note, or has 0 happy notes throughout the song, whether it be a song, film, or whatever, I think it adds so much extra value, because there are a lot of people who may not have a lot of happy things going on with them. They hear the song and they go, okay, I'm not alone in that. Whatever the topic might be. And while we take a quick pause of what I'm sure is a riveting conversation, let me tell you about a friend of mine, as well as employer, Crave Pizzeria on Sashaball Road, right here in Clarkston, Michigan. Now, believe me when I say, even though I know I'm employed by them, they're only one of 2 pizza places that I will buy pizza from these days. I dare to try to guess the other one in the comments down below. But regardless, this pizzeria has some incredibly fresh ingredients, fresh made dough, fresh vegetable toppings, which are not frozen, freshly grated cheese, which again is not frozen, and fresh meat straight from the butcher shop, which again, I'm repeating myself, but it's not frozen. Steve Templin, the owner, cares about his food and his customers. You'll catch him on the pizza line basically every single day, serving quality food to his community. Now, right now, if you call or walk in, you'll get 10% off any regular price carryout item when you mention my name or the name of the show. Again, that's 10% off when you mention EJ or the My Opinion Doesn't Matter podcast. Nail your next tailgate or your next party in general. It's right by DT Music Theater. Thank you again to Steve and Crave for being a friend of the show. Peace.
When I think, I'm thankful that I found how I can express what I feel. And I think there's so many people that don't they've found what their expression is, and I believe everyone has that.
Sure.
So, like for me, let's say, yeah, I do write this really dark song and someone else is going through it and they haven't found out a way to express themselves or how they're feeling. Just hearing that song, I think that is an outlet in some form for them.
Yeah.
Like it allows them to let go of some of what they're dealing with. So I think that's, so like, that's actually, yeah. So yeah, it's other.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's so true. It's like I've written songs that I've never recorded just because it felt good to write it.
Yeah.
And it's I've had ideas for films that I never fully went through, but just going through the idea and planning certain things out got me through something. I used it as a distraction. I used it as a way to cope. And obviously there are healthy and unhealthy ways to cope with different things, but I think art is such a it can be so full of expression and so full of emotion that no one else has to understand. There's no one that you need to impress. There's no one that it's something that is so personal and something that is so just and I think for the most part widely accepted by a lot of people that art is a way, is a therapy. Like we said, it's a therapy. It's a form of just sometimes it's just letting just the bullshit out. And
Sure.
whether it's painting, whether it's anything, it's you don't owe anybody anything, but when it comes to your art, I'm trying to think of the right words to explain it, let me say it a different way. People come and go from your life, people move on, people enter in sometimes as fast as they leave, but art is always there. And that's how I felt about music my whole life is I may not be Eminem here, like I'm never gonna claim I'm anyone like that, but I love fucking doing it, and I understand that I'm as indie as it gets, but it's none of that really particularly matters to me. And every time you get asked, "Oh, you're a rapper?" Oh, well, it's always questions about your career. It's always the first question. Like I'm sure you've gotten this very similar questions as I have, where it's like, "Oh, well, what platforms are you on? Oh, well, are you making money? Oh, are you signed by anybody? Do you have this?" Like it's all questions about how are you progressing this into a money making career, and less of a, well, why are you doing it? Like, what makes you rap? What makes you, are you even wanting it to be? Is it just a hobby? Is it just, I think that kind of going back to what I was saying before, people people may come and go and people may move on, but you never have to, impress your art. You only you have nobody and nothing to prove when you're in your own elements creating whatever it is that you feel passionate about. And that's what I love about it so much, and that's what keeps bringing me back to it. That's why I have this podcast. It's an expression that I know will be with me from now until the end of time. My creativity is never going to be fully gone. You're going to have points where you have I guess we call writer's block or artist block, whatever. But it's always going to be there, just waiting for you to move the paintbrush or move the pen. And that's what I think is so is so amazing about it. It's always got your back.
Right. No, I agree. It's cool. It's like a snapshot. I can look back and it's like a photograph. A photograph tells you like, oh, I remember that time. Like, you never look at a photograph and just go, hey, that's a picture of me. You always attach like this. Oh, I remember what happened that day, or there's always this emotional like attachment to that photo. And for me, music is like that. I can make this song and I can go back and be like, I wrote it a year or two ago, and just go, yeah, okay, well, it's cool that I can like listen to this song and be like, man, I did deal with that, and I here I am. It's just cool how it always just gives me goosebumps.
100%. I posted about it on my Instagram a few months ago when I found my old rap notebook. And
nice.
And when I say old, I mean it was made in 2013, 2014. Let me tell you, that was some of the songs have a few lines where you're like, okay, all right, there's a little bit of potential. And then there's some of them where you're like, who hurt me? Like, what the hell what happened? Like I didn't even remember what the issue was.
Oh.
Like now, but I'm reading this song going trying to remember what made me feel that way. Like I don't remember that, and just looking at like how back then that probably felt like the biggest problem in the world. And I was
Right.
never going to get through it. It was never going to end.
Yeah.
And I wrote it in the song, and years later I can go back. I don't even remember what the issue was anymore. And I just found that very very fascinating. You know, just you know, despite the fact that most of them were shit. It was cool to look back and just kind of try and pinpoint what memories kind of match up with each song.
Yeah.
I remember one of the first. I think it was the first song I ever recorded. I was I was dating my second girlfriend at the time. I think it was I was a junior in high school. We started dating early February. So what does that mean coming up? Fucking Valentine's Day. So I decided, because I'm, you know, a fucking sap in as a junior in high school, that I'm gonna record a whole song for a girl that I just started dating 2 weeks before. Great idea, 100%. Go big or go home, right? Get the I had a buddy of mine who still produces now. Shout out, Riley Parent, you're awesome. He still makes music now, mostly EDM, but I got him to make a remix version of the song "All of Me" by John Legend, and it just keep the chorus and the bridge parts.
Oh, nice.
And it cut out the verses, and I would rap in, you know, in between it. Recorded in some, you know, rinky microphone in his room, no studio stuff, just like I had no clue what I was doing, you know, just to put it all together, and it was not a good song. It was not a good song, but she fucking, or at least told me she loved it, you know, and we just like, because it was just something that like wasn't normally a thing that you would give someone,
Right.
but it was I remember just by doing that, it was I can't even it's hard to even really explain, but just I was able to say things on that song that I never had been able to say to her face.
Yeah.
Like it, like or even over text. You know, it was just an easier outlet for me to just kind of let the shit out and let whatever feelings I had for her at the time, whatever feelings you can have in 2 weeks. That's that's what I laid out there. You know, and it was I remember just being extremely freeing, and then I started recording a couple more songs, made a couple other really bad ones. There's not many, my songs didn't start getting good until like a year or two ago. I had I'll go into it a little bit later about when I stopped rapping for a couple years and why, because there's a story that goes with it. But I want to ask you first. You said that you had a second album kind of coming. You're not really sure when you might, or if you might drop that. What do you have any when it comes to just music in general? That doesn't necessarily have to be rapping. Where do you see yourself taking music the further down the road you go? Do you see yourself continuing to progress with rap? Do you see yourself trying out other genres? Like, you dab a little bit with screamo. Where else do you see kind of your path with music going?
I mean, like I said, it's more of an outlet for me, and you know, if something comes from it, you know, like I see the little reports on my Spotify, my iTunes and stuff, and it, you know, people are listening. It makes me feel good. But like you were saying, you know, at the end of the day, like, it needed to come out of me.
Oh yeah.
Either way.
So, and I mean, in terms of career, I mean, just like what other, maybe like, you know what, I've never tried this. Maybe this is something that I could maybe someday, you know, divulge into. You know, like you said with Screamo, how Screamo was like, maybe that could be cool, and then you took a few months, and then it finally got to the point where you're able to actually put it into music. You know, that's more along the lines of what I was referring to.
So if we could just do what I wanted for music,
right? Yeah.
I need to find someone to work with, because like I want to focus on lyrics.
Okay.
And everything you hear when you listen to one of my songs, you know, I composed it, I worked all the instruments, you know, I wrote all the lyrics, I mixed, I mastered every live instrument, like I'm playing, it's all me. And like, that's cool that I can say that, but I spend so much time doing other things that I'm like okay at, and I'd really like to hone the art of my vocals.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get, you know, faster and more articulate with, you know, rapping. I'd really like to start working on a singing voice, figure out where the heck that's going to be. But, and then, just fine tuning the scream. But I really like the genre. To me, like, it's always something that I've come back to. I've
Kind
always
of like the jack of all
resonated.
trades, but master of none type of
That's
feeling
yeah,
you
and
got. Yeah.
I just want to do vocals. So like if I had someone like just to send some beats or a band to work with or even just someone to bounce some ideas
Yeah.
off because I don't know, multiple ideas are always better than just one person's.
I agree.
It's cool that I can say everything in this album is 100% me. Like keeps costs down. I don't have anybody
That's
to
true.
pay.
That's very true. That's
Um,
I've definitely benefited from that when it comes to this podcast. I bought
yeah, so
all the
you
equipment.
yeah,
I've
you
done
get it.
everything. I planned everything. I basically just like texted the co-host or anybody else updates. This is what's happening now.
Yeah.
It's it can be it's better in certain aspects. I don't have to count on anyone. Like, I really hope they're getting this done. I really hope this is
Right.
getting done. You don't have to you have to just be on yourself. Am I getting this done? Am I gonna get this done? Sometimes that can be great, but like you said, there isn't as much collaboration. There
Mhm.
isn't as much, like it'd be great to just have like a whole team of people. Like
Oh,
one guy's here on lights, one guy's hoping I'm making sure the camera doesn't turn off in the middle of shooting, which
Yeah.
thank God hasn't happened in terms of recording so far. With all the episodes we've already done, but just little stuff like that would absolutely be awesome. Just to have a little bit
Yeah.
of a less of a, I have to do everything.
Mhm.
Like there's some awesome good things that come with that, but then like I said, there's also like kind of that like a little bit more of a responsibility aspect, a little bit more of a pressure aspect. Like I have to get everything, and like you said, you kind of become the master of none.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at a lot of things, but you're not really good at one thing because you've just done a little bit of everything. You never had that time to focus on your one actual passion.
Well, and it's a bottleneck. I mean, I got so many ideas that I want to do lyrically floating around in my head. I got, my notebooks filling up and I don't have a canvas to put it on, that canvas being the music. So it's like, it slows down what I want to do because I can't just like, okay, cool, thanks. If I could talk to somebody and say, hey, this is kind of what I'm feeling, is the vibe I want. Here's a tempo, blah, blah, blah. Maybe some instruments like this, have them put that together within a day. Okay, cool. Now I can just get all of my lyrics out, all these vocals that I want to do. And instead they just pile up. And then I'm afraid, like we're talking, it's a year's worth of like all these things that I need to get out and they're just building up. So then let's say we get to the point where, okay, I make this song. Well, I'm not feeling like that anymore. So
yeah, I've done that.
So
I've
then
had
you
that happen
come
before.
back and you're like, all right, I mean, this is some good stuff. I got some good rhymes, there's some good lines here. I just don't feel like this.
Yeah.
So then I try to record these lyrics and they just feel empty and fake because like that emotion that I want is gone. I've already worked through it. So I want to capture it as fast as possible and like so where I see myself, I'd like to work with some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of a couple of artists who have I'll go back to NF again. He has talked about how whenever he wasn't feeling depressed, he almost felt guilty because all of his music, well, I would say all of his music, but a lot of his music is him dealing with his own mental health and his own mental issues. And when he's not in a bad place, it like you have fans that will be like, oh well, we want a happier NF. And then he shows a happier NF, and I was like, oh well, we want the sad NF because he hits harder, he makes you feel more, and it's a constant battle that he's talked about in songs before, just like I don't necessarily know what you want from me. I have to let that go. If I don't, I'm just gonna drive myself crazy.
Right.
But I understand the feeling of like, it must be difficult for an artist like that who's built a career off of, I don't want to make him, I don't want to, diminishes any of his mental health issues, but more of a sadder, more of a, angrier, type of feel to the majority of his music. And if that's what you're known for, if all of a sudden things are going great, like he's making money now, he's more mainstream now, things aren't quite as tight for him anymore, he's having a baby, like things are starting to kind of go up for him right now. I can understand why it's like, is anyone even going to listen to me because I'm not sad right now? Like if I release a song that's me just rapping and having fun, does anyone even give a shit? I can definitely I can definitely and not to mention if you try and force it, you try and force out a sad song, it sounds fake. It sounds
Right.
like even if everyone else goes, oh yeah, see there he is, his back, you feel empty because you know like I don't even feel that way right now.
Right.
Like now I'm catering, you know. So yeah, I can definitely understand where where that comes from for sure.
Yeah.
It's I guess the next section I wanted to get into a little bit is I want to go into a little bit about where I've taken my rap career. Then I want to ask you a couple more questions. But I know with me personally, I wanted to explain the story a little bit earlier. I had taken a break a couple years off from rapping. This was back after I want to say it was 2018, and in 2019 I came back to it. So it was like it may have been like late 2017, and then 2019 I came back to it because it was in the middle of the summer. My dad had a wedding, and he wanted me to rap for during the reception. He wasn't gonna tell his wife, so I wrote out this whole rap. Practiced it, had the whole thing down and performed in front of my co-host Melissa. She liked it. Everything seemed pretty good, and I hadn't written a song in a while before then, but I still felt pretty good. Like I'm like, all right, cool, we're feeling good. And I get up to the front and I completely forgot the entire song. And there's like probably 200 people, just maybe not quite that much, like 100 people ish, just kind of chilling in the reception, and I'm standing up there and I have no idea what the song was. It's completely gone. And it gets more cringy, trust me. Then I asked for my notebook so I could just read off the notebook, and I still couldn't hit it. I was still like I was losing my place. I couldn't even read my own writing. Like it was it was bad. But what I did is I basically I kind of had to improv speech it. So I just kind of took a notebook, I threw the notebook and just gave an impromptu speech. Well, that didn't fucking work, but this is what I'm trying to say. And I just said a speech to my parents, and it saved it because it was like my dad couldn't be late. It was like I won't lie to you, I was starting to kind of huddle back a little bit, but then you came back with a speech, and I'm like, oh okay, he's back. So it was, but after that happened, that was the first time. Well, not the first time I performed, but every time I had performed before that, I fucked it up somehow. And looking back on it, it was just because I didn't practice nearly enough. But I didn't have a good memory of an actually good performance. Every performance I had a fuck ton of problems. And so I kind of, in my head, I'm like, I can record music a little bit. I'm decent at writing. I'm decent at delivery, but I can't perform. This just might not be the thing for me, And so I kind of like, at the time I was just getting into acting, and I was like, I'm just gonna go into film. Film is where I see a higher ceiling. I still do in terms of a career, but I gave up music for a while, and I said, music will always be there, but for right now, it's just I got nothing for it. And then I went to UWM, and they had a talent show. And you had to audition just to get into the talent show. They only chose 10 people, and then it was a competition to see who were the top 3, get a certain prize or whatever. And I actually intentionally skipped work the day of the audition, hoping I could get out of it. But then they just made me redo it the next day. so it didn't quite work out for me. But I wrote a whole song. People on my team told me, you said you could rap, and I'm like, yeah, I used to. You should write a song for the talent show. And I thought about it, and I'm like, it's been a year and a half and 2 years, like, maybe I could write a song. Let's just try and write it. Like, if it doesn't sound good, then I won't do it.
Yeah.
Wrote a song, and I loved it. And I loved the idea that I took. At some point, I'm actually going to record it. I actually just, the song was written on an old phone of mine, so I lost the lyrics. But I just found a video of me performing it, so I can get the lyrics back. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I found a video. So I'm gonna try and get all the lyrics. I'm gonna re-record it because I can only remember word for word the first verse. I can't remember the second one. I spent once I had finally auditioned for it. I got in. I got into the talent show. I was the only rapper to be chosen, which I could not believe. No one else. Like, there's like 8,000 people that worked there. I'm like, no one else can rap. Like, I can't be the only guy. This is not a good representation of the rap community. But I'm like, all right, cool. I got chosen. They walk up to my desk with like a gold ticket and a gold balloon. Like, you got in. And a bunch of other people got in. Someone from my team even got in for singing. And so we both were super excited, and I get home and I just could not stop practicing, and I'm like, I am not going to fuck up on that stage. I work here. I work with these people. They're never gonna let it go if I fuck it up. Like I have to. My dad let it go. I can't let this shit go if I mess it up at work. And I had a whole group of guys that I was really close with from my team. They all were coming. Like they never would have let me hear the end of it. And I remember at the end of it, they came to me and they told me, we did not expect anything. Like we were hyping you up. Don't get me wrong, but in private conversation, we were like, I really hope he's not bullshitting us and he can actually rap, because if he can't, this is gonna look real bad. And I had called my stepdad in the auditorium during the actual performances. I was in the back, and I was calling him, just going, Dad, I cannot fuck this up, man. Like, you don't like if I fuck this up, I'm never gonna pick up the pen again. I'm done. I'm giving it one last shot. And basically just told me, like, just go out there, the song, and just forget anyone else out there. This was the biggest crowd also, by the way, that I would have ever performed in front of. It was at least 300, 400 people in there. It was by far the biggest crowd, and they had no idea what was coming. This song was I'll give you guys a little bit of a basis of what the song was about. When I was rapping originally, back then I was a hardcore Christian, so I didn't swear into my raps. I had a few Christian songs, and I was the nice rapper. I was not only the nice guy in person, I was the nice rapper. That was just kind of that was the persona I took on. Okay. The older I've gotten, I told myself when I quit the first time, if I ever came back, I was going to be harsher, I was going to be edgier, and I wasn't going to apologize for nothing. I was going to swear if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. I was going to say whatever the fuck I wanted to. I didn't care. And I couldn't swear at my work, unfortunately, but I could say a couple things that were at the very least, grittier, mm-hmm. a little bit more, and so I kind of created the alter ego, I guess, of me. Who I named Edge. My name, I was obviously EJ. EJE Edge, just a little bit of a play on, this is the riskier side of me. Okay, I like that. And so mind you, the people that performed before me were this couple, like, really happy, lovey song, like they're jumping all around and dancing, and then I come out and my intro is very, very dark, and it's just me talking. There's no one on the stage right now. I'm in the back just talking out the intro, and it's a conversation that I'm having with my ulterior personality. Yeah. And where normal me is like, no, I'm not touching the mic anymore, you take it. And so Edge then comes and performs a song. I have like a hood over my face, so no one even could see my face originally, and I just come out with this dark, intense, just very, very, I like to scream. I mean, I have a lot of voices there, so screaming just kind of happens a lot. But I like to add growls, and I like to add just like, moments of the song where it's kind of softer, then it builds, and then now you're screaming. Not screamo, but you're yelling, you're loud, you're intense. Yeah. And I like that kind of style. And so performed the song, didn't mess up on a single word. And I could just look into the crowd, and you could just see, like, even the judges' faces, who were a little bit more lit up than everybody else was. Dude, the faces were priceless. Just like looking at all the, like, I couldn't look at it for too long because it was freaking me out. But just seeing everybody clearly having no idea that this face was going to come out full arm of tattoos. I had a tank top, of course, on as well, a tank top hoodie, okay. And just no one had a fucking clue that was going to come. And I was the first one out of everyone who performed to get a 10, which was like, I don't even care what happens, I'm good. I got a 10. I'm right. Solid. Like I think I got 4th place, which out of like 12, I think I was fucking awesome. Really good, yeah. Hell yeah, I'll take it. But because that happened, now in my head I knew, now I can't give it up now. Now I gotta like shit, like I never should have performed, because now that I performed and now that it went well, now I have a memory of, see, I can perform, I just need to practice more. But yeah. once I did that, and now I have a good memory to kind of base it off of, it's like, shit, music's gonna be in it forever now. At that point I had to accept it. Like I may never get anywhere with music career wise, but eventually I came to the realization I was talking about earlier of, it doesn't matter. Like it's, and I didn't know that a few years ago. I didn't understand that as much as I do now, you know. but it's just it's very interesting just to look back at I like you said with yours, my career is nowhere near, I don't got all these insane stories of all these places I traveled to and all these venues I performed at. That's not my music career. My music career is more kind of, it seems to be somewhat similar with yours, where it's more of like it's a conversation with yourself. It's more of like you're doing it for you. You're talking out loud, but to no one in particular.
Yeah.
You're just expressing, and that's kind of how I see my career at the moment and how I look at my music. I don't look at it as a hobby or a full-fledged career. I just look at it as it's mine. It's what I like to do, and wherever if it ever leads somewhere, awesome. If it doesn't, I don't care.
Right.
And it took a few years for me to finally accept that. I want to go into a couple other things with you a little bit. We're gonna kind of steer off a little bit of the music path and go into a little bit more of your interests, and then we'll wrap up the show. But I mentioned earlier that you helped me out with my diet. You are very, very big into physical fitness and in personal health. Just kind of go into a little bit about what made you so interested in I guess the physical health aspect of other people. Like what made you interested in training other people? Like I know you're Spartan certified. What made you wanna do that?
My first boss at the gym named Brian, he so like I was young age, obviously you just want to put muscle on and look better,
Get swole, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Simple story there. But so then I got to the point where I was working out. This was in Holly, and I was going to Snap Fitness in Holly 5, 6, 7 days a week, and I mean, as I'm eating breakfast, I was like, I'm the type of person that like there's a switch for me, and when I flip that switch, I'm 100% in.
Okay.
I don't like dabble with anything.
You got a game mode.
I either do everything or I just like don't do it. That's how I am. 100% or 0%. So anyway, I'm like, okay, now I'm into health and fitness. I guess this is where I'm at. And I mean, I'm always reading fitness articles. I'm talking, supplements. I just wanted this like deep understanding of how to get myself there as quick as possible. And anyway, so I just started working out a bunch. So Brian, he was the manager of the gym at the time, and he actually ended up buying the gym. And he came up to me one day. He's like, hey, real quick, like, I just bought this gym. I need a personal trainer. You're in here all the time. You clearly know what you're doing. Like, if you want, you could take my study book, and if you want to, go get certified, and I'll hire you. So I was like, all right, well, so I took the book home, and I, like, thumbed through it. I'm like, well, this is actually what I did. So I looked. It was $300 for me to take this test to get certified.
Okay.
And I looked at it. I'm like, okay, well, my gym membership's $35 a month. And if I get hired, I get free membership. Okay. So if I train and don't even make money for 10 months, certification's paid for.
That's a good way to look at
it. That's literally what went through my head. I mean, at the time I was working 3 other jobs, and I had an apartment with my buddy, and I was going to school full time. Like, I was busy. Yeah, and I was actually, so like I was in school to be, I was getting my, or actually just graduated with my Associate of Science, or was about to, I don't know. And I planned on transferring to OU to be an engineer. And my uncle was just like, hey, this is like a safe bet. I'm like, cool. Like, I'm good at math. Why not? Not a desk person. Like, that is not where I belong.
You don't seem like a desk person. That's very interesting to hear. I mean, there are some people who say the same thing about me, just because I never sit down. So like when people hear that I used to work a desk job for over a year and a half, they're like, what? Really? Like you sat still for like, well, I did my best, but no, that's never a career that I've ever thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna be working here for 40 years. Right. Like I've never. I gotta move. I gotta see something different every day.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm the same way. So when he introduced it to me, I was like, I didn't even know you could do this for like money. Like like it can, but
like actual real money.
You don't know it. So anyway, I got certified, and I was just eating it up. I was like, shoot, I'm already reading this stuff every morning anyway. So got certified, and like after that, he goes, hey, you're doing really good. I just bought the Linden gym too, because I need you to manage and train over there. So I went over there, full-time manager, personal trainer, and I mean, I was, not to toot my own horn, but I was doing pretty good over there. Yeah. He was happy with it, and I was like, whoa, this is cool. And like, prior to all this, kind of I think what really pushed me into fitness was martial arts. Just seeing like being able to like push your body and improve, and just the discipline.
How experienced are you with martial arts? I didn't even know that you were that you did that. While I have you for a quick moment, let me tell you about Grit Obstacle Training here in Waterford and my friend Kurt Sabin. Now, you've heard me talk multiple times about how Grit has helped me lose 50 plus pounds, and I'm able to do more athletic movements than I was ever able to do even in my military days. No joke, I couldn't even do a single pull-up when I enlisted for the military, and even like halfway through my military basic training, I can now do 10 plus depending on how I'm feeling that day. This place is incredible. Grit combines the calisthenic movements professional athletes use in training with obstacles seen in American Ninja Warrior as well as Spartan Race. It creates workouts that are not only physically demanding, but also push you mentally. Now, most gyms have trainers. Everyone knows this. Grit is one of only 50 gyms worldwide that are certified to train you in the Spartan Ram program, which is specifically designed to build endurance, balance, and strength to help with any obstacles races you want to race in. Whether you want to join me for early morning sessions at 5:45 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, join an adult evening class, or bring your kids for a fun workout of their own, Grit and his team will help you achieve your fitness goals. Call or walk in right now and get 10% off your first purchase, as well as a free trial class. Again, if you mention EJ or the name of the show, the My Opinion Doesn't Matter podcast, you'll get 10% off your first purchase, as well as a free trial class. Thank you so much to Kurt and Grit for being a friend of the show. Peace.
Yeah, so I have my black belt in Tung Sudo.
Oh, so you're decent.
Yeah, yeah, my
got a little bit of experience. I've dabbled.
Yeah, I just dabbled. No, I mean, I really like the competition. I really like the discipline on myself though.
Oh yeah.
That was like what really stood out. But I think we'd do competitions. We go as a school, and our school would always do really well.
Very cool. My older brother. He has I think he's got. God, he's gonna kill me if I get this belt color wrong. I'm sorry, Brendan, in advance, but I want to say he's a blue belt in Island Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
And he has a gym up in the Muskegon area. He goes to. I actually just went to one of his actual, I guess, competitions a couple years ago. It was something that obviously I had watched a little bit of UFC before then, but that's more fighting. That's not Jiu-Jitsu is one aspect of UFC. If you watch UFC, it's more of the ground game. Obviously, you're not wearing gloves and throwing punches. You're grappling on the ground,
right.
And my brother is definitely a heavyweight, or at least on the heavier weight side. And so anyone that was bigger than him, he was kind of forced to take on. And there was a guy that was like probably 6 foot. My brother's maybe 5'10", 5'11", maybe 6 foot on a good day. This guy was at least 6'5", 6'6", 280, 290, just big, not like jacked, but just big.
Right.
Just not an easy guy. If he's on top of you, not an easy guy to get off of you, especially when you're 40 pounds, 50 pounds lighter than he is.
Yeah.
I think he medaled. He fought in 4 tournaments and he medaled in all 4. He had like 2 silvers, 1 gold, and 1 bronze. But it was just really, really cool. Just to kind of at first I never had any interest in that kind of a thing, watching it or anything. But like I said, watching the discipline, watching just all like how you have to plan everything out, sometimes 3-4 moves ahead, and this little move that you made where you put an arm underneath here may have looked insignificant, but in about 30 seconds, it's about to lead to something else. It's about to lead to an arm bar, it's about to lead to a knee bar, and that just it fascinated me so much. And then, once I met Kurt and he's like, I like UFC, and I'm just like, yeah, I could get into that a little bit. Sure. I went to an event with him here and there at Buffalo Wild Wings back when that was packed full of people and you couldn't hear any of the commentary. You just saw fighting. And then eventually I just fell in love with the sport. But never tried it personally myself. But I just love all the strategy behind it, and just looking at people's feet, looking at their their body language, their eye movement. There's so much I have to watch for. Boxing is very similar too, but you got one thing you're looking at. You're looking at, well, I guess 2 things: the feet and the hands. Those are the 2 things you watch for, but not obviously watching for them to kick you just to see where their feet are planted. Martial arts, everything is fair game. Every aspect of the body could come at you. A knee, an elbow, anything could come flying at you in any second. And I just love the unpredictableness of it. That might not be a word, but I don't know. Just all the different excuse me, strategic aspects of martial arts was always very fascinating to me. That's crazy that you're a black belt. And what you said, I'm a
Tong Sudo Muay Kwan.
So what exactly? This is gonna sound really high school, but what is that?
So the easy way is it's actually the same style as Chuck Norris.
Oh, okay. Well,
I found that out.
Definitely don't piss
2
you off
years
then.
in.
Got it.
Yeah, right. Got a good roundhouse kick, you know.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
But
sweet. Okay.
What I really liked about it, Tong Sudo Muay Kwan. It's a discipline. It's like a military brotherhood. That's what the Muay Kwan stands for, and it's this like South Korean Chinese hybrid. And this school, the federation that they were under, they kept all the tradition that they could in there. So it's like 4.5 years average time to get your black belt.
Yeah.
Once you hit your red belt, it's about your halfway mark. It's about 2 years in. When you hit that mark, the instructor gave you the class in Korean. You talked in Korean. You counted in Korean. He gave out orders in Korean. And
interesting.
I loved it. I mean, it was just this whole other element that's lost, I think. Everyone's like, oh, let's self-defense and fight. And it's like, no, it's just this.
There's a love to it.
Yeah.
There's an art to it.
The
There really is.
tradition was so cool. And, you know, I just really liked having
That's
that.
cool.
It was really important for me, I guess, in that period of my time or my life. And so anyway, yeah, I ended up working out like after I got into martial arts. I was like,
Okay.
oh, cool. Like
So you
I
had
could
a little bit of a physical foundation.
Yeah, it was kind of
Yeah.
like the movement and that discipline. I was like, wait a sec, what if I got stronger and more muscular and
Yeah.
blah blah? And it's just kind of when it
Okay.
worked
Very
together.
nice. Very cool. You know, and then like I said, you know, eventually it led us to both meeting at Grit.
Yeah.
Did you start working at Grit right when it opened, or did you? Okay, that's what I thought. I know I started going there. It was less than a month after you guys had opened, because I know you got. I want to say Grit opened in December, and I started January 1st
Yeah.
of that next year. It is now I was. We were explaining on, I believe it was the first episode, just a little bit about the gym and just like how different it is compared to other gyms, you know, and just the way you're treated by Kurt is just so much different. The way you're talked to,
man.
the way you're, you know,
Yeah.
everything. You know, he just makes you feel like you're once you're here, you're part of the gym. And it's I'd imagine it's very similar when you're in any kind of martial arts field, when you're with your class and you're learning together for sometimes years at a time, depending on who stays in the groups, and you know if you know you and all that. I can imagine that it's something similar where you're with I would assume probably you had the same, what do they call them, leaders or masters or whatever, or other black belts. Probably you know you're probably being taught by the same guy, same couple of guys
Mhm.
for years until you get up to a level where, you know, like you said, you're now a black belt. That is I feel like it. Kurt took a similar approach with Grit, where he just like, you know, you're gonna see me all the time. I'm the owner, but you're not. I'm not an absent owner. You're gonna
Right.
see me. You know, I'm gonna be in there every single day, even though he works 2 other freaking jobs. And you know, you don't sense that he's not passionate, despite the fact that he's doing all these other things. I find that just very, very infectious and very, you know, heartwarming sounds a little weird, but just very, like, you walk in and you just, you know, you smile like, oh, this is nice, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm happy to be here again, you know. Obviously with the shutdown, it made things a little bit more interesting.
Right.
You know, but it's I don't know. I just I like that family, you know, aspect of anywhere, whether it's a gym, place I work, or just how I like to live my life. I don't like the corporate you're a number
Yeah.
life. You know, where, like, you know, my grandpa did it, where, if Ford was one of his first jobs, and he never left. He was there for 50, 60 years. That just doesn't feel, that to me just doesn't feel like it's fulfilling. I don't want to just be another guy in an assembly line, and this goes for any job, not just factory workers, you know, and no disrespect to that, you know, it's a perfectly fine a profession. It just, to me, that doesn't fulfill me. That doesn't fulfill the the plans I have for things. It doesn't fulfill the, I'm trying to think of the words, the holes that I want to fill in my own soul, in my own timeline of my life. You know, it's you know, I don't want to wake up in 30, 40 years and go, I didn't do anything. Like, you know, all I did was slave away, majority of my life towards one or two different locations, and I understand that's how a lot of us are raised with you're raised to you turn 18, you graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate college, you get a job, you get married, you have a family, and women I know can sometimes be raised with a different type of traditional mentality of you're just around just to be the wife, which I also think is just wrong. Like we had talked about before, everyone's got their own form of expression, and I feel like so many people, like my grandpa and like other people who live that kind of life, never have the chance to have that expression, and never have the chance to like it's almost like they'd rather conform than I guess showcase that a little bit. But I also feel like that also isn't always their fault. It's kind of the way the times were back then. But people even today will still act around the same way. That it's with all these different outlets and all these different freedoms that we have in today's world, it's so much easier. I mean, look at this.
Right.
You buy a computer and a couple microphones. I put my phone up there and boom, you got a podcast. Like it doesn't take a lot to, do something.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that I think a lot of people could learn is breaking apart from that conformity and that feeling of I have to satisfy everyone, and just satisfying themselves, tying back to a little bit of what we talked about earlier with our music. No one else in the grand scheme of things matters. Our opinion does not matter.
Right.
What matters, at least to me, and this could be a whole other episode of what does life really mean? I'm not trying to answer that question in the next 4 or 5 minutes, but one aspect of what I feel like brings meaning to your life is doing the things that people don't expect from you, doing the things that, and maybe because they expect nothing, or maybe it's because they expect everything, doing things that satisfy your own self-worth and your own life goals, and less about my mom wants me to get married, well I need to do this because I need to go to college because that's what I was told my whole I'm not I'm not someone who went to a university. I went to a film trade school. I went to military before that. Didn't have a typical schooling, normal public school when I was younger. But I didn't need any more formal I guess I call it formal education after being in high school. I knew from there that that style of learning is just not the style that I knew I wasn't going to thrive in. The military was a good try, but that didn't quite work out the way I expected it to. But the trade school I went to was when I realized, there is a different way to teach people. Yeah. For those who don't know or haven't been to Motion Picture Institute, the class was 12 people, 13 people, and I think throughout the year, like 3 people dropped out, so it went down to like 11 people. Something like that. 10 people. It was something around those lines, and there was so much more one-on-one training. There wasn't no bullshit. There wasn't no fluff. It was this is how you do it. This is these are some tips on how to get it done. It's up to you to get it done. You can't learn acting from a book. You have to do it. And I felt like once I had seen that there's a different way to educate people, I never went back to that old way. I realized at that point, you don't like that was one of the first things. You don't have to conform just because it sounds like the right thing to do. Doesn't necessarily mean it is for that specific person. So that's that's why I feel like that. When it comes to your life, do shit that people don't necessarily expect from you. Doing things that make you happy and doing things that I'm sounding a little bit like a sap here, but doing things that you feel give your life meaning. That's what's important. It doesn't, and maybe for some people that is working in one job for 40 years, and if that's the case, all power to you. That's just not me.
Right. I think there's some Chinese diagram or some shit like that, and it talks about what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you're passionate about, and what you're not passionate about. And you know, someone like you and me, like we need to find something we're passionate about to like feel fulfilled. But there's also like the whole side where you can be just good at something, and then being good at something gives you the income to go do what you're passionate about, whether it's
Yeah.
hunting or
That's true.
camping
That's true.
or something. So
That's
you know,
good.
like
That's the
'cause
way to look at it too.
I used to think it's like, man, everyone needs to do what they're passionate about, but that'd be a pretty
Not always
successful
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
society, right? But like, yeah, there's people that are okay. Like my dad, he, I remember like Guitar Center, they used to do these drum offs. He used to take me, and my sister all the time. Seriously, this was like the coolest thing. They would just line up these drummers, they come and just like shred. And my dad, he would like listen. Sometimes he'd join in. He's an engineer. My dad's an engineer.
Yeah, you
Talk
know,
about
and
an engineer that's
cool.
creative. Like
That's true.
He can't even talk to people. So like, he was cool. You know, 5 days a week, 8-hour days, come home and just play music. Like that income allowed him to express himself like outside of work, and he was like
That's
fulfilled
true.
in that sense. So I was like, I respect that.
Okay, yeah, and that's when I came in, you know, with the whole, you know, some, you know, for everybody it's different for every, you know, but that's why it's like, that's why I don't believe when everyone's been given the same advice of you have to go to college, you have to do this, you have to, you know, whatever advice you get. Most of us were given very similar advice, especially if you went to public school.
Yep.
You were all given the same advice,
Yep.
and you know, like you mentioned that example, that doesn't always work for everybody. Some people are like, yeah, okay, you know, I'll go, you know, I have to go to university because I want to be an engineer, you know, but I still have other passions like drumming or whatever. He didn't let that go, and that's something like you said. You know, I can also respect that, and it's you know, sometimes you're right. Sometimes you have to give up a little bit of your time to maybe get a little bit of an income in before you can start funding your own passions. You know, whatever that passion. You know, it could be bird watching. Maybe you want a really nice pair. Binoculars are expensive. You know, you never know. You know, I've seen some crazy ones out there. Or even if you're a photographer, you want to talk about expensive cameras, dude. Holy, I mean, I'm filming with my phone for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there's like, you know, there's sometimes passions aren't always necessarily free, but it's to me it's just it's don't do what I did when I let go of music because I didn't feel like I was good at it. You know, that's kind of, you know, like, you know, just because you're not good at painting doesn't mean you shouldn't ever paint. You know, just because you're not necessarily, you know, Vincent Van Gogh doesn't mean that you're not, you know, good in your own right at it. You know, not everybody can be Vincent Van Gogh. Not everybody can be Michael Jordan. Not everybody can be any, you know, and it's I know I had lost sight of that a couple years back. I've since found that now, but you know, but I also don't look at it as, you know, I have to put out music now. Now that I performed, well, now I have to be a musician now. You know, it's still on, you know, I wouldn't say the back burner, but it's definitely, you know, or I guess if it is, the heat's on. You know, it's not turned off and you know, and growing mold or anything. You know, it's someone that you know, like I said, will always be there, and I'm sure for you, you know, you feel the same way wherever it may take you, whether it does or whether it doesn't. But it's not something that I feel like I'm obligated to now do. Like I stopped caring about, well, what if someone, you know, wants to, what if people are like wondering, oh, well, he's not serious about music because he's not putting everything out every once in a while. I stopped caring about that, you know, and you know, and with certain hobbies like your dad, with him just drumming, he's not necessarily looking to, you know, make a whole career out of it. He's got a career, you know, it's just something that, you know, he loves to do. He likes to join in as, you know, some of his buddies, and you know, that's kind of where I see my music and where I believe it'll probably stay, and I've since accepted that, you know, and that's something that you know, I'm glad that I've seen now, you know.
And to say something on that, so my dad, going back to him, he said this is my hobby. So he had his group, you know, they're jamming and they go to bars or whatever. And then one guy's like, hey, look, I think we can book some things where we make money, and you know, we'll just have to learn a couple covers. And my dad's like, I got into this to write songs with you guys. I'm not interested in writing other people's songs or playing other people's songs. Like, oh no, we just have to do a couple. And he's like, I don't want this to turn into income. So he left. He's like, I don't want to learn other people's music, and I don't want to get paid for this. This is for fun.
Yeah.
And they turned it into something that he didn't want to, and he left. And I was like, respect that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
pretty cool.
You stick to your guns a little bit. I get that, absolutely. I think with that, I think we're going to wrap up here. We got about an hour and 5 minutes. I always, I joke about this at the end of almost every episode. We always say 45 minutes to an hour, and it always goes over an hour. But if I say an hour and a half, then we're going to want to get to an hour and a half. And, so it's like it's hard to stop always at exactly an hour. Sorry, my cat's going to come into the frame. Say hi, Merlin. Thank you for waiting till we wrapped up the show to jump onto the table. But with that, you guys, like the whole spiel, the whole thing. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. All of our socials are linked. We're very excited to be able to get Ryan onto the show. It was the first time he's been on the show. I don't think you were on the first season. I don't think you were able to do that.
No.
So, but I'm glad I was able to get you on for this season.
Oh yeah.
We're very excited about the direction of where the season's going to take. I think we had a really good conversation. It went to a whole bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good. I think it was pretty good. You got any final thoughts for all the fans out there, the 3 people that watch this show,
well,
that are here now at the very end?
If you want to check out my stuff, I'll probably be releasing that song I was just talking about. It's called SOS. Just look for.
I'll put his link to his Spotify in the description, or wherever you're watching this. It'll be linked somewhere. You'll find his Spotify linked.
So, but yeah, I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Me on the show.
Thank you, Merlin. Thank you so much. I'm telling you, he's going to be the star of the show. Just him showing up. No one's going to give a shit about my face or anyone else's face. It's just going to be him. Yeah. Where's the cat? Those are the only comments I'm going to get. But all right, guys. With that, we will see you in 2 weeks. Peace.